On to part three of the laundry room redo. I've been working on some brackets here. I got some things that look really sharp here, so I'm kind of jazzed about this one. Let's do the title intro. You're watching On the Mark with Mark. I'm getting things dry fitted pretty well here. You can see I've got my pipe coming up there and going across, and this is where it's going to actually dump into the drain right there. I made another spacer here to keep that pipe parallel with the wall, and then here's my 4-inch diameter surge tank. And then I made this bracket right here to hold it nice and plumb. I thought it turned out pretty nice there. Made that out of some of that PVC board. I've added some spacers and brackets going up the wall here. And I've got some J-hooks going across that I haven't attached yet because I won't be able to piece it together if I do. So those will get screwed together after I get it glued. And now everything is dry fitted. So I am going to start gluing things together. This will be good for some time lapse. I'll try to make things quick. Well, that takes care of the drain side. Now I'm going to work on this riser here. This is all on the side that's pressurized by the pump. So I've got to go up the side there and across the wall. Got it in the threads a little bit. Only one joint left. Okay, we'll give it a little time, then we'll check for leaks. I want to see just exactly how much water my reservoir will hold. So I got the bottom of it plugged up here, and we're gonna fill this a half a gallon at a time. There it is. It looks like about 1.75 gallons, so not quite 2 gallons of water, but well over a gallon, so that's a nice reservoir. Okay, it's all together. I'm gonna do a leak test. Now the utility sink is, I need to shorten up a pipe on it, and I need to buy a longer one. The tailpipe that goes out there, it's just barely on. But I think it's sealed enough that I can do the test. So it's going to take a couple of buckets of water to get that pump to turn on. But let's see what happens. I hear it going in down there. Second bucket. Oh, got a leak. I need to tighten that rubber clamp down there. Third bucket. Looks like it's working. But anyway, it only runs for just a little bit of time, and I can hear the check valve slamming shut. So there's a column of water in that pipe now. I'm gonna go over to the sink and pour another bucket in, and you'll be able to hear this thing run. Just like that. I'll have to keep an eye on it for a while and look for leaks. I've removed the utility sink now so that I can get under it easily to route my new hot and cold water lines. I've got looks like the cold water mostly through. Right there's where my fittings are gonna be for the washer. And I've got this one through up to there. This is a reused pipe from when I dismantled the original system. I've got this dry fitted up here, and I've got this is an air chamber that's supposed to lessen the effect of water hammering. You can see this joint right here. I'm just reusing from the original setup. And it's coming down this way. And then I had these pipes cut too short. So I was able to reuse the lower one and make it the correct length, but you can see how short this one is here. So here's a deal that I've done many times. I've done this with scrap 2x4s when I'm working on a project. What I like to do is line things up like this. Here's my cutoffs. So I'll line them up so that whenever I go to use one, I'm gonna have the least amount of waste. I'm gonna use a coupling and I'm gonna add 3 inches to that pipe that's there. That is what it's gonna need. So I can see, I'll just use this one right here. But sometimes, and in fact, I don't know, especially with 2x4s, I can come to my pile stacked up like that, and I don't even have to make a cut. There's already one there the right size. That's really handy. I've got everything dry fitted now, with one exception. I have the hot and cold ran over here, and they're just terminating at the right length for cold and hot right there. So I'm gonna put those together after I assemble the rest of this. There's one. Now holding this part that's going to be mounted to the wall, flat on the bench, I've got my elbow turned in the correct direction. I just need to keep it flat this way. One minor assembly soldered together. Now I can put this in. Okay, let's see if we can squeeze it in here. Try it. Behave. There we go. Okay. We go down. Keep going down. Get behind this pipe here. And going. Going. Yes. Okay. Now can I stand it up enough? Let's see. I'm gonna have to move this up and under. And up over. There we go. All right. And bring her down a little bit. There we go. There it is. Okay. Back up. There we go. Yikes. Well, it fit in there. That wasn't a sure thing. That's in. Looks pretty straight. Okay, now we'll do the hot water side. I made up this little shield here. It's just a piece of plywood with some foil on it. And this hopefully will keep me from burning the house down. I'm just gonna put it behind whatever it is I'm soldering, so hopefully this will reflect long enough before anything catches on fire. Those are all soldered in, and I've got the anti-hammer tubes installed. Now we're ready to cut into the plumbing system of the house. It's always nerve-wracking for me whenever I have to turn off the plumbing because I'm going to be cutting into the system, because if I don't get things sealed up right away, how long is the house going to be without plumbing? Now, this is what I've been told you got to do when you're sweating pipes onto an existing system. you have to open every valve in the house. That's the showers, all the faucets, flush all the toilets, go to the refrigerator, try to get some water out of there, turn the sink on. I've got every valve in the house open, and I've drained about 5 gallons of water out of the water heater since I'm also tapping into the hot water side. So now I'm going to cut into the system here, and there'll probably be a little bit of residual water that'll come through like last time, but there can't be any water in the pipe when you're soldering it. Otherwise, the water keeps the pipe too cool to solder. So here we go. So far, so good. I've tapped into the cold right here, and I've got my elbow, which is heading over to where the washing machine is. Now, this screw is just here to hold this pipe nice and tight for when I sweat the other pipe onto this elbow here. This joint's already been done, so there's 3 joints that need to be done here. And now I've got this one here. This is the hot side, which, if you recall, I capped off over there, so I only need to make 1 cut here to get this off of here. Sorry about the blurry video. This may be crazy, but this is what I've come up with for this dead end here. Now, I wouldn't have thought of this on my own, but this actual piece was on there, and then there was a 90, and this is what headed over to the washing machine. And off of here was a little short anti-hammer pipe. And I don't know if, because this is a dead end, if it's more important to have another one here, but it was easy enough for me to do. I already had this fitting. So I decided to just put this on here, so when the 3/4 inch water is coming, it's got a place where it can, pressurize that little bit of air that's in there. But also the water's going to be going up here, and then it goes across the room, and then you saw where just before it drops down to the washing machine, there's another anti-water hammer device there. So I'm probably overdoing it, but I'm just kind of following what I saw before. And it doesn't cost me anything. These parts were already, well, it did cost me that little. That's a street 90 right there. This one I reused, and that's where I cut off the pipe. But isn't that a funny looking little assembly there? So that's what's gonna go up there. There are the last 1, 2, 3, 5 joints there. Now there's nothing left to do but turn the water back on and see how we did. I counted the number of joints I sweated together for this project, and the number is 29. What are the chances of all of them being good? Here we go, the moment of truth. Whoop. Let's turn this valve off. This is one of the ones that was on. Don't need, holy smokes. I almost made a mistake. I probably ought to have a couple of shut-off valves right there, and a couple of more down there. Otherwise, we're gonna have quite a gusher. Okay, got everything off now. Here we go. Oh, got the valve open. Okay, it took a couple minutes there to squeegee the water up to the floor drain. Yeah, so let's try it again. Let's get over there. So far, it looks good. If there are any leaks, they're small. The rest of the house is pouring like mad because I got every drain open. I'm gonna go close everything now. I don't see any leaks. This is always so nerve-wracking for me. No leaks. Yes, no leaks. 29 sweated joints. And 6 threaded joints. Wait a minute. There's a leak. That needs another turn. Now it's good. Just needed one more revolution. Got some straps right there and right there. Of course, it's screwed on right there and here and up above there and here and here. So the pipe is not going anywhere. Nice. All right, let's see if we've got a leak here. Or here. Well, there it is. Hot and cold right in front of it. The electrical cord for the washing machine just a little to the left. And the dryer outlet is just right on track here. The washer and dryer are fully installed again. I would finish the utility sink, but the hoses I picked up at Menards tonight, they work on the faucet end, but they don't work down there on my valves. So I'm gonna have to go back again and see what it's supposed to take. This came with this nice plug here, and it's got little slits in it that the cords can go in, like that and that. There. Now that seals this up pretty good. There is a vent right here, but otherwise, this is fully installed. After running one load through the washing machine, I've got 4 leaks. 2 on the drain side and 2 from the supply water. And I've taken a pretty good shot at one of the leaks so far. So let's have a look at that. If you recall, this pipe was pushing up against the wall here. And so I changed the way this was arranged here, but this fitting, let's see, right here I had to cut it, and then I added this on here, and it was still too tight for me to get this fiberglass reinforced plastic behind it. So I took my heat gun and I heated up this whole area, and then I pulled it out and I wedged a piece of wood behind it until it cooled. So it's taken on a new shape. Well, that has caused a leak right here. Now, last night, I cleaned this up real good with some PVC cement primer, and then I taped up the bottom of this with some Gorilla Tape, and then I just let the PVC cement just drain down into this joint. It's kind of like in between here, except for it's only like this big right here. And I used this tape just as a trough to hold it in place. And then as I worked my way up, I added more tape and I filled the whole gap across here. So I don't know if that's gonna work or not. And I did that last night and I was looking at it so far this morning and it still feels a little soft. So I don't have to pull that off just yet. I'm gonna let that set up for a few more hours. I might give it a couple of days because it's kind of sealed up, so it needs to get air to it in order to be able to set up. So it's gonna set up a little bit slower. Anyway, that's how I'm handling that leak. That's a pretty major leak, but it was just a drip. So it's not real major. We could still, well, actually I have ran one load through the washer already, and it dripped a little bit, but because of the way I have things here, nothing is getting damaged. I suppose if I left that alone, that galvanized steel would eventually rust if it was getting dripped on every weekend. The second leak I have is also on the drain side. You can see that little drop right there. You know, all of these leaks are not very good, so that's good. And that is caused because I wanted this 90-degree elbow on here. And I used hose clamps here, and it's hard to see, but there's another one there. But I used their original clamp here, and my 90-degree elbow is a little bit smaller than the tube that comes off of this washing machine. So I'm gonna replace that clamp with a hose clamp. And I'm pretty sure that that's gonna fix that leak. The other leak I have is also very slow. It's a drip about every 15 or 20 minutes. And it's one of these valves, and it's at the threaded connection. Well, there we go. It's this bottom one. Let me try the top one. No, that's dry. It's this one here. And I've tried retightening that, and it's just not doing it. So I'm gonna have to shut the water off to the house again, and then I'm gonna pull this one off, retape it, and put it on again. That ought to take care of that. The fourth leak is a bit of a mystery now. There was a spot of water that showed up down here. That's not it. That came from disconnecting the drain hose. But it's been overnight now and I don't see any leak. I'm suspicious of leaks that fix themselves. And my thought was that it was one of these threaded couplings too. One of these guys. So I was gonna redo those, but well, let's see. That's dry. And that's dry. I don't know. It might have actually been kind of leaking through the valve there and dripping from in one of these. It looked like it was on the cold side, but I guess if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'm gonna leave that alone for now. So I guess I'm gonna call it just 3 leaks, but I am gonna redo the way this valve here is threaded on there, get some better tape on it. So that's next. All right, I've retightened it after taking it apart and retaping it. Now we're just watching this paper here to see if we get another drip out of it. I'll keep an eye on this. Hose clamp installed. To mount this to the wall, I'm gonna take this PVC board and it's gonna go right under here. before I put it under there, I'm going to cut this bevel here into the back side of this so that when this gets mounted on the wall, this will kind of hook over it and give it a little more of a grip. And then I'll run a couple of stainless steel screws through the top. And then I've got another piece I'm going to put on the top as kind of a short backsplash. So let's get this thing cut. Okay, so I have machined this part, rounded over the edges. I've got my 20-degree bevel on it, and I had to put a little notch on each end because it gets captured underneath of there. There we go. So I'm going to screw this onto the wall, and then the sink will hook over this little ledge here. Let's get to that. Test fit. Wants to climb up just a little bit. I think when I get the screws in the top, yeah, that'll give me a real tight fit. Okay, this one's really turning into a lot of funky cuts. This slope right here, which might not even look like a slope, has got a 3-degree slope. So I have to cut the 3-degree slope there first, plus notch out for these sides here. Now my part is standing straight up and down, and now I need to match this 20-degree slope back here, but only up to here. So it's going to have a notch like that in it that comes this way. And that is really going to capture this sink here. Between that, the screws coming down, and this being screwed to the back here, this thing isn't going to move. You got it. I have drilled and countersunk 6 holes across the back of this sink, and I'm going to be using these brass screws because this is an area where we could have a lot of rust. And the only reason I'm using these is because I have them in stock, and they're a little smaller than what I really would have liked to have had, but I think with 6 of them, and then they're actually going to be covered by this right here, that this is going to be captured well enough. Also, I'm using my drill instead of my impact driver because this has a clutch on it, and brass screws can break really easily, so I have it set as low as it can be set. And I'm also pushing in on this thing, the sink, while I'm driving these. Well, the best laid plans didn't work real well here. If you recall, I put some wooden blocks in between the studs here on this wall, and they are centered at 31 inches, which is right there, and a 2x4 comes up to here. It looks like I was very concerned about having something to screw that into, and I'm not sure if I had even thought about putting this backsplash on yet. I think I did have that idea, but anyway, there's not much to screw to. Now I can get into the stud here and here, but these 3 screws here, it's like this. That's going to go into the stud. These 2 are going to go into the stud, but this one and these 2 here are only going to be going into the fiberglass reinforced plastic. So I'll just be using some short screws there, but the other ones that are going into the studs, I'm putting some serious screws in. I'm also going to caulk behind this first. Looks like I'll come back and trim off the rest later. Look at this one. It shot through a little bit of a crack on the side. Now I'll hook up the supply lines. This is hot. Okay, turning the water on. There goes the hot. There goes the cold. Check in for leaks. Don't see any around here. That's good. Well, it's finished. The whole laundry room is done. The plumbing, the drain, the sink, the discharge for the washing machine. I did a little cable management here. This pump came with 10 feet of cord and I needed all of 2 feet. So I didn't want just a big rat's nest of wires around here. So I spent some time with the cable ties here and I made a rat's nest of wires here. So that's the way it looks now. At least it's not laying on the floor. This was an existing cord here that runs the sump pump, which hardly ever runs. I might redo that later. Things that are left to do, I still need to make some brackets for this vertical rise for the exhaust on the dryer. As long as I don't fill that bucket with water, it's fine, but I'll get to that sometime later. You can see why I didn't go straight up, straight from the dryer. I would have liked to have done that, but my drain pipe was right in the way, and that would have pushed the dryer away from the wall even further. That's one thing I don't like about my installation is how far away from the wall both machines are. And that's partly due to my 4-inch pipe there. I wish the dryer manufacturers would come up with an optional port, maybe on the side of the machine. Then I could have pushed that back further. That would have been nice. I redid the way this sewer pipe was hung from the ceiling here with the J-hooks. And I liked that so well that I used J-hooks down here on my 1 1/4, or is it 1 1/2? I think it's 1 1/2 inch pipe. I didn't know at the time that I did that how I was going to handle this riser here. And that turned out to be very simple. And in hindsight, I would have used this same method here instead of these J-hooks. I could have had a much smaller spacer, and the J-hooks were $2 and some change, and believe it or not, these little brackets here were $1 and some change each. So I could have saved a few bucks. Not a lot, but not worth redoing. The J-hooks work really well for hanging a pipe from the ceiling right there. These valves came with 2 blue handles, so I had to take one of the handles off and paint it red and put it on again so that we can tell the difference between the hot and the cold. I put this little cap on top of here just to close up and give a finished look to the top of that riser. Had I known that this was gonna reach so high, I would have made that taller, although it turns out it is not necessary. The 1 1/2 inch pipe down there handles the discharge of the washer just fine. That's what I was worried about. I thought it might back up a little bit. I'll tell you, that little pump though, that thing really moves some water. It pumps way faster than what the washing machine does. Now we got running water right here. And the pump is taking care of it. That's it for this week. This is where I remind you to subscribe to my channel. And if you thought there was a good idea or two in my video on how I redid the laundry room at our house, maybe hit that like button. I've worked hard on this project. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Good. Well over a gallon, so that's a nice reservoir. Oops.